Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Backyards with Bolt. I'm Vedanshi from Bolt Safety, and we're back with Vanessa from CHIMO, and we're going to continue our conversation from the previous episode. So let's dive right into it. The first question for this episode is, what new challenges are faced by women experiencing violence or abuse? So by that, we mean in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, so the COVID-19 pandemic has created what's being called a shadow pandemic for women experiencing domestic violence and abuse. So what this means is, while everybody's been encouraged to stay home as much as possible to slow the spread of the virus, that means now women are trapped more so with their abusers because they're spending more time in the home, their abusers spending more time in the home, and so that means there's a lot more opportunities for violence to occur. And on top of that, there's also the economic toll that the pandemic has had. And so a lot of the women I work with are out of work, or their abuser is out of work. And so when people are out of work and money is tight, conflict goes up as well. So imagine, you're stuck in the house, nobody's working, money's tight, there's going to be a lot more fighting, a lot more aggression. So that has been a huge challenge. And another challenge is for my clients who were working with me prior to the pandemic. The look of our sessions has changed rapidly. And so, sometimes it was hard for my clients to come here to see me in person. They would have to make up an excuse as to where they were going. And, back in March when this all kicked in and we could only do phone sessions, all of a sudden now they have to have an hour at home with me on the phone with their abuser in the other room. And so, that just wasn't going to work for a lot of them. So I actually had a fair number of my clients have to drop out of counseling back in March because they just couldn't get the privacy in their own home to do a phone session with me. Some of my clients got creative and they would go out for walks and talk to me, or they would go sit in their car somewhere. And so, a lot of women have just had to give up a lot of the supports that they would have traditionally had. And then, on the flip side, women who had separated from their abuser prior to the pandemic are facing their own challenges. So, a lot of my clients share children with an abusive ex-partner. And so, imagine that kid is going back and forth between the two houses prior to March and everything's fine. And then it's like, okay, now you have to pick a bubble. And so has been a ton of disagreement between co-parents about how to choose people in your bubble, or like if this person is safe to see or not, and if there's elderly grandparents. And so that's kind of opened up a new area of abuse that's, co-parenting during a pandemic abuse of, I don't think that you're social distancing properly, you don't care about our kids' safety. So now there's this whole new topic that abusers can use to abuse their partners, even if they're not living with them anymore. So it's just created a number of new challenges for an already highly challenged population. So it's unfortunately going to be with us for some time still, and so a lot of women know that this is going to be a long haul for so many different reasons. And abuse unfortunately is escalating right now because of all of the tensions, all of the insecurities, all of the anxieties in the world.
Yeah, and I think that we have to try and be there for each other as much as possible. Like, I think now is the time for increased empathy, increased support, even though you're doing it like, physically apart. But social isolation, I think, is a major problem as well. Like just trying to stay connected with your friends because you have no idea like what they're going through at home. I'll link it a bit to our Safe Hubs project. The reason that we started it was because of this reason, like because of COVID, women aren't able to necessarily go to the places they used to go to, like work or even to the gym, that kind of stuff. So we partnered up with local businesses to create a network of like safe spaces. So these women can escape to these businesses, like establishments and locations, to be able to get away from home. And if anything, it just gives them like an hour of their day where they don't have to stay at home. And I think that can mean a lot to these women. So,
yeah, absolutely. Even 1 hour can be huge for somebody who's just constantly living in this. So thank you for creating that. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks to like, you and your organization and others that are doing this work. I think, it's a teamwork at the community level. So okay, so this kind of transitions into our next question, which is how CHIMO specifically can help these women, these victims and survivors.
Yeah, so CHIMO has so many different services, and I would say they kind of just fall into two categories of either providing practical support or emotional support. And so practical support usually has to do with housing or legal advocacy, or even helping to complete official forms and documents, get your taxes filed, apply for various, government programs and subsidies. So we have staff and volunteers who can assist with any of those needs, and so get all of those practical components in place. And then the emotional piece, that's me, so counseling, and then we also have a crisis line that women can call and talk to somebody who will listen to what they're going through and be that supportive ear for them. So together, those practical pieces and those emotional pieces, the hope is to help women to rebuild their lives and to empower them to create safe futures for themselves, for their kids. So yeah, I would say kind of the greatest success stories are from the women I work with who are also working with my colleague in that housing program and that family law program, and just kind of getting support for everything, because there's so many different pieces to rebuilding your life after leaving an abusive situation. So if you make use of us, then really that's what we're here for. So please make use of us, and we're happy to be part of your journey.
That's incredible. And I mean, CHIMO is doing such amazing work. And of course, you are doing amazing work within CHIMO. We will be linking all of CHIMO's resources and available support services on our mobile platform. So do go onto our mobile platform. You can join for free and check it out if you want to learn more, or you can visit their website, which is also going to be provided alongside this episode somewhere. So before we end off, Vanessa, is there anything that you want to add that you haven't talked about yet?
I'm so happy that, out of something so terrible, this pandemic, that a lot of good stuff is coming out of it. The stuff that you're doing with Bolt, and, there's been a ton of funding for sexual assault survivors and domestic abuse survivors, programming, and it's great that this is not being forgotten in the madness of our world right now, that, abuse still exists and it's intensifying.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that, what you said really resonates with our team as well. There is support available. There is hope.
Yes.
So let's end that on a positive note. So this ends our series of Backyards with Bolt with Vanessa. And if you want to learn more, do check out all the links and the descriptions and our mobile platform. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to speak with us. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.